It is 7:05. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. It is awesome to see some blank screens right now. Hopefully, you guys won't be scared to turn your cameras on. It's always great to see faces. But I want to say Happy New Year. Hope the year is off to a great start, and everybody had a great holiday. But welcome back. Welcome to 2026. Welcome to the DC Democratic Party General Body meeting. My name is Charles Wilson. I have the honor of serving as chair of the party. And many of our members are online with us right now. And we want to welcome you to our meeting. Typically, we meet once a month. We like to move our meetings around the city to be able to connect with residents in every ward. But tonight we're meeting virtually at the start of the year, um, just to make it a little bit more convenient. Um, but I want to go and get started. I sent the members, or Claudia sent the members the agenda for tonight. We got a great discussion tonight with Monica Evans about the implementation of ranked choice voting in this year's primary election. We know there are a lot of questions, and we want to be able to answer as many questions as we can. For tonight's purposes, and I'll say this when Monica comes on, instead of allowing people just to unmute and answer a question, we'll do our best to see if we can. We want to encourage you to put your question in the chat so we can ask for you. And that'll cut down on the time of the back and forth. But I want to go and get the meeting started. Again, welcome. Happy to see everybody. I don't think we have quite a quorum of members just yet. I know folks are still logging on, but everybody should have received the December Treasurers Report. And if you have questions, feel free to ask Barry or myself. Um, the next item on the agenda, we sent out an email couple of weeks ago before the new year that we are hiring for an organizing director. And I'm going to share my screen just so you guys can see where to find that. But if you just go to our website at dcdemocraticparty.org, you go here, get involved, work with the DC Dems, and you'll see the description of the position, roles and responsibilities, salary expectations, and how to apply. Just as some background, we have been working on this role, a possibility of this role since the summertime. We had a meeting with the DNC. They met with some of our members to kind of get their perspective on the party, where we were. They had an opportunity to talk with the mayor's office. I believe they talked to Chairman Mendelson, and several other prominent Democrats in the city to kind of figure out, how can we strengthen the party and prepare to push for statehood when the time comes. And so the idea behind this position is that we will be able to take all the volunteer energy that you're seeing right now with all these campaigns. And once, the June primary is over, we want to be able to take all that energy and direct it towards the general election and possibly pick one state, one race in one state to be able to focus our efforts on, to be able to elect a Democrat who supports statehood. So that's the goal of this position. So if you know of any great organizers, people person who's out there who would be interested, please encourage them to apply for this role. And again, you can find it on our website on how to work with the DC Dems. All right. All right. So next up, we have Monica Evans from the DC Board of Elections to talk to us today about ranked choice voting in the upcoming primary. I want to start off the conversation saying this is really just a conversation to hear from her about the implementation of the voting process, the education around it, um, and we as a party, we as residents, everybody on this call really has an obligation to be able to educate our neighbors on this new voting system. Doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not, this is the law right now, and we as a party have to do our job to make sure that our residents and our neighbors and our constituents are aware of this process and we can help answer their questions. We cannot just depend on the DC Board of Elections to do that work for us. We have to, as a party, that is our mandate, voter education. And so we have an obligation to do this as well. So I just want to make sure that we're focusing the conversation on that. So without further ado, I want to turn it over to Miss Monica Evans. Monica, how are you?
Yes, good evening. Thank you. I think my audio is working fine.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. So, first of all, thank you for having me. I always welcome the opportunity to come out and speak. And this is going to be a very important election cycle with a very broad field of candidates. And then also, as you mentioned, the implementation of ranked choice voting. I initially was preparing for this meeting to be in person, so I do have some collateral that I had planned to hand out. So, Mr. Wilson, I can get that to you after the meeting. And if you want to distribute it to your network, that would be fine. So, I will talk to you about how to do that. But just briefly, I want to just do a very brief conversation because I want to make sure I leave ample time for questions and answers because I know that there is a little bit of confusion around ranked choice voting. And then there's not just one size fits all when it comes to ranked choice voting. Other jurisdictions have implemented it, but I can say that the District of Columbia is probably implementing it in the most aggressive way because we are implementing it for primary and general elections and essentially any election that the DC Board of Elections oversees. But then we're also essentially implementing it for all of our offices where other jurisdictions may just implement ranked choice voting for a single or just for municipal offices. So, beginning with the June primary, we will have ranked choice voting on the ballot. And so, for any contest with three or more candidates, you will have an opportunity to rank those candidates. And so, you can rank up to five candidates in those contests. If you do not have at least three candidates running in a particular contest, then that contest will not be subject to ranked choice voting and it will essentially be straight voting as you're accustomed to just voting for one individual. If no one candidate crosses the 50% threshold after we begin the tabulation, and this will be for your first choice votes, your first choice votes. And so whoever is ranked in that number one slot, we will essentially look at all of the candidates. If a candidate should cross the 50% threshold, then a winner is declared. And it is really akin to how we're used to voting in the District of Columbia. It becomes different when you do not have a candidate crossing that 50% threshold. If no candidate crosses that 50% threshold, we look at the candidate who has the fewest amount of votes in that particular contest. That individual will come off, and then whoever voted for that candidate. So, just to kind of for illustrative purposes, if you have five candidates, I'll call them candidates one, two, three, four, five. If candidate number five has the fewest votes after that first round of voting, then candidate five comes off. Everybody who selected candidate five as their number one choice, their votes would be redistributed based on who they selected as number two. And you have rounds until a candidate crosses that 50% threshold. And so we could continue with multiple rounds of balloting and particularly not knowing how many people are going to be in any particular race. And one of the things that is a little challenging for us, we will not necessarily know which contests are subject to ranked choice voting until we have determined which candidates have achieved ballot access, because that's the key. And so now I see a hand up. Mr. Wilson, I don't know how you want to handle questions if you want to.
Yeah, if you, for now, guys, if you guys can put your questions in the chat, we will direct them to Monica that way. That way we can kind of keep some order with the conversation. And I just want to reiterate for folks who are jumping on the call late, this conversation is just being educated on ranked choice voting, how the Board of Elections is going to implement it. And we as a party, we as residents have the obligation to help educate our neighbors on this new voting process. That's our job. We must do that. We cannot just depend on the DC Board of Elections to do it for us. So we're thankful that Monica is here today to help explain it. And again, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat.
Thank you. So, as far as outreach, I have to, say that voter education and outreach is really going to be very important. So, thank you for teeing that up because this is an endeavor that really will require all hands on deck, if you will. As we have talked to other jurisdictions that have implemented ranked choice voting, they said the success of ranked choice voting is really because of the buy-in from elected officials, from community organizers, from nonprofit groups. Everyone commits to supporting the success of the effort. And that's one of the things that we are hoping, and we are actually receiving a number of entities and organizations reaching out to us in different ways, offering assistance. We have our traditional voter education and outreach plans when it comes to working with seniors, working with vulnerable populations, working with the schools, universities, working with hospitals, churches. But we also know that we have individuals living in Department of Corrections and Federal Bureau of Prisons around the country. So we know that we'll have to tailor some of our outreach based on where the voter resides. But we have been very fortunate to have a lot of entities reach out. One of the things we are planning for right now is a town hall. And this is a result of a meeting with Councilmember Bonds. And so we are looking at having a citywide town hall on the 31st of January. And that will likely be at the Wilson Building. That will be an opportunity for us to bring voting equipment, bring ballots, bring informational materials, answer questions, let people see the ballot, and really allow people to practice. And we will have tools on our website where you can actually have interactive engagement with ranked choice voting. We will have a lab that we have set up in our office where we have ballots, we'll have voting equipment, and we'll have opportunities for people to come in and ask questions. We are using our site coordinators, and our site coordinators essentially are the individuals who oversee the vote centers and are responsible for the administration of an individual vote center. And so we typically have 75 site coordinators during an election cycle. So they will be used in two ways. We will actually train them around ranked choice voting so that they can assist us with voter education and outreach. But also we know that no matter how much voter education and outreach we do, there will be people who show up at vote centers who may not be familiar, or they'll look at the ballot and they'll have questions. And so the site coordinators will be uniquely trained and qualified to answer those questions at a vote center. So our voter education and outreach will not begin before an election cycle. So just some of the things that we have produced thus far. We do have draft regulations that we will be taking action on in the month of January. Those draft regulations have been circulated to members of the council and to the mayor's staff for input to ensure that those regulations are properly aligned with the legislation as it has been written. We have FAQs, we have a palm card, and the landing page of our website will be launched tomorrow. We will continue to develop information materials, and a lot of the materials we've developed will continue to grow. Even though we have frequently asked questions, we know forums like this may generate additional questions that we may not have anticipated. So it will be a living, breathing document, and we will continue to add to those frequently asked questions and continue to add to the information that's on our website. So we really want to, one, reach people where they are, two, provide a number of different ways of educating people. We have a partnership with the libraries in DC. We already have 4 events scheduled at MLK Library. And we think that just given the amount of foot traffic we get there, that can be a very effective way to reach members in the community. So we're really trying to cast a broad net. And we are hopeful that our partners in the city will see the advantages of working with us, using our materials. Even when we have candidate pickup on January 23rd, they will receive information around ranked choice voting and those candidate packages so that they can properly educate people. One of the things we need to ensure that the message is consistent. So while we are asking for assistance for community partners, we are really also asking that our materials be used for that educational process, because we need to ensure that the same information is being distributed and being relayed. And that is also one of the lessons learned from our interaction with other jurisdictions, when people are creating their own informational materials that don't necessarily align with what the Board of Elections is saying. So I do want to stop there, only because I want to make sure I leave enough time for questions and I can come back to, you know, tabulation or any other specifics that people have. But Mr. Wilson, I don't know if someone is tracking questions or if I
Yeah,
should look in the track or
believe it
chat.
or not, you're doing such a great job. We haven't gotten any questions yet.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
then I'll keep
Yeah,
going.
there are several
Oh,
questions.
Oh,
There's
there.
several questions in the chat.
Yeah,
Oh,
there are a lot. There are a lot of
maybe I'm
questions right
looking.
now.
Oh, you know what? Why isn't it showing up on my? Oh, you know what? Monica, can you ask the question? I can't see it on my screen.
Sure. Okay, let me scan. There's so many. Okay. Okay.
On everyone, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I see it.
What actions will our party do to ensure that our registered voters vote for our candidates?
Well, that's more of a party question, not a question for Monica.
Okay. Okay, I'll go to the next one. Do we only drop off one losing candidate in each round, even if there are as many as 10 candidates?
That is correct. One candidate will drop off each round that does not have someone crossing that 50% threshold.
Okay, could you please explain the meaning of inactive ballots? There's confusion about what that term means.
Absolutely. And so, as I mentioned, for a particular contest and inactive ballots, we are really talking about a particular contest using ranked choice voting. And so, in that particular contest, there are a number of ways that your ballot will become inactive for that contest. So, as I indicated, you can rank up to 5 candidates when you're ranking your choices. And so, ways that a ballot can become inactive. So, if my candidate of choice is candidate 1, and so instead of ranking different candidates 1 through 5, I rank candidate 1 and number 1, my second choice, my third choice, my fourth choice, my fifth choice. So I have ranked candidate 1 for my first, second, third, fourth, and fifth choice, the same candidate. So when we do the first round of tabulation, I have selected candidate 1. My ballot is valid. There's no issue with my ballot in that first round. Once you get to the second round, I'm attempting to rank that person again. At that point, my ballot becomes inactive. So if we don't have to go to a second round and somebody wins on the first round, my ballot would count and my ballot is not inactive. Once we go to subsequent rounds, I no longer have a voice because I've already exhausted that candidate. And so you cannot continue to have that candidate in subsequent rounds. So that is one way your ballot will become inactive for that contest. Another way your ballot can become inactive is if you have two sequential skipped rankings. And I do want to say that these are not rules that DC Board of Elections is determining. These are rules that are in the legislative text that we have to implement. So if there are questions about why we're doing it that way, we're doing it that way because that is the way that it was laid out in the legislative text we received. So if you have two sequential skipped rankings, at the point you have those two sequential skipped rankings, at that point, your ballot becomes inactive. I'll give an example using the 5 candidates. If I have someone, if I have candidate 1 ranked and then as number 1, and then I don't rank anyone in number 2, I don't rank anyone in number 3, and then I decide to rank candidate 4 in the next slot. I have 2 sequential rankings on my ballot. Again, my first round would be valid because we have not gone to subsequent rounds. So I've ranked a candidate in that first round. Once we get to a place where I have 2 sequential skipped rankings, once we get there in subsequent rounds, my ballot would become inactive at that point. Now, I can have 1 skipped ranking. So if I rank my ballot, I'd select someone in the number 1 place, I skip number 2, I select someone in the number 3 place, I skip number 4, and I rank someone in the number 5 place. At no time does my ballot become inactive because I have not had 2 sequential skipped rankings. I just have 1 skipped ranking. And so in that instance, I would essentially have a vote in 3 rounds, even though I have 2 skip rankings, they're not sequential. And again, this is just based on the legislation, the way it's written, not the way we decided to implement it.
Okay, thank you. Are the Democrats and Republican primaries still separate, and can Republicans vote in the Democratic primaries?
They are still separate, and we have closed primaries, so you need to be registered with that particular party to vote in that primary and to receive that ballot.
Okay. I'm trying to see if you haven't answered. People are asking, can it be in another location besides the Wilson Building?
Well, that is a town hall that Councilmember Bonds is scheduling. There will be other opportunities. We are planning something for all of Ward 5 on April 18th. We're planning something for all of Ward 7 on April 4th, I believe. So there will be other, this is just one town hall. We will have multiple town halls. We will also have virtual town halls. So I think the council members moving forward, because that's her event. And so that was her brainchild. So I'm not sure what her thought process is for having it at the Wilson Building, but there will definitely be other opportunities to have other town halls and other events and other ward-wide engagements.
Will other DC agencies receive outreach materials to share? For example, Board of Health, DC Health, the OAG's office. How will they get materials to share?
Yes, we will definitely share materials. We have a lot of established partnerships. So, of course, the DC libraries will receive materials. We have voter registration agencies. They will receive materials. We will have QR codes on, for instance, we have a Palm card that has a QR code, and anybody can reach out to us and get materials. Even when the candidates come and pick up, they will have materials in their packets. However, if there's ever a point where people want additional materials to hand out, Of course, we are out in the community with fairs, visiting schools, outreach events, and we, of course, will bring materials with us. But just like any election, organizations have always requested informational materials. Organizations have asked us if they can come and get yard signs. We make those available. Organizations have asked if they can come get flyers. This will be no different. If individuals want informational materials, they can absolutely get them, and they just need to call our offices.
Okay. When are the regulations going to be released, and when is the comment period?
The board is going to take action on the regulations at our January board meeting. And so I believe at that time they will be effective on an emergency basis. And then in the registry for public comment after that, I don't have the exact timeline in front of me, but that should be later this month.
Thank you very much. I guess the question is, what's the benefit of skipping a ranking? I think you kind of touched on that, but
yeah. I don't know that there necessarily is a benefit to skipping a ranking, because if you skip a ranking, it really would just have the effect of moving your subsequent rankings up. So if I have 5 rankings and I skip number 2, essentially my number 3 becomes number 2, my number 4 becomes number 3, and my number 5 becomes number 4. So I would say there's no true benefit in skipping a ranking.
Okay, and can the system be designed to prevent user errors that result in inactive ballots?
There are some ways, particularly with the touchscreen machines. So if you're voting in person using a touchscreen machine, there are certain selections it will not allow you to make. But of course, we have mail ballots and paper ballots. And so when you get a ballot in the mail and you return it, there's no, I guess, check or safety on that method of voting.
Okay. Is Ward 8, has their town hall been scheduled yet, or their information system?
It has not, but we do plan to, our goal is to schedule something in all 8 wards.
Okay, and then is there a sample ballot that we can see?
Yes, there is. I actually have one. If this were in person, I could have brought some to hand out. But if you can indulge me for a moment, let me see if I can share my screen.
Happened, and so
I'm not sure if I'm doing that correctly. I can be a little technically challenged at times. Can you see this ballot?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you. So this is essentially a sample ballot we've created. So as you can see, fill in 1 oval per column using blue or black ink. If you make a mistake, you can ask for a new ballot. You may rank candidates in order of preference. Fill in the oval next to your first choice under first choice. You may rank up to 5 candidates total. Here, lower ranked choices do not affect your higher ranked ones. They are only counted if higher choices are eliminated. Do not give the same rank to multiple candidates. Rank anyone more than once or skip a rank. To vote for a qualified write-in candidate, write the name in the space at the bottom of the left column and fill in the oval. So we have an example of what would be an acceptable ballot. And then, of course, here they voted for the same person in multiple columns. Here they have voted for 2 people in the number 1 space. Just to give you an example, using some fictional characters. Here you can see House of Delegates. You have candidates here, first, second, third, fourth, fifth choice, and this will allow you to rank up to 5, and you can include the write-in here. And so again, any candidate that has 3, any contest that has 3 candidates would be subject to ranked choice voting, as you'll see here. And sample ballots will be available on our website. And if people are interested in sample ballots, we can get those out as well. So this is just an example.
Okay, this was very helpful. All right. I'll move on to, I'm trying to find questions that haven't been addressed. So will Board of Election also be responsible for educating voters about the new postal postmark rules, USPS postmark rules?
We will, and I am I'm attending a conference this week, Election Center conference that is being held in Northern Virginia, and we had representatives from the U.S. Postal Service there. One of the things that they wanted to share during the meeting yesterday, during that workshop session, was that the rules have not changed. What they are saying is people were under the assumption if you drop a piece of mail in a mailbox and it is before the pickup time, that piece of mail will automatically be postmarked that day. And the information they conveyed to us is that piece of mail will not be processed or postmarked until it gets to the operations center. So it could be that same day, but it's not necessarily that same day. So the information that was articulated to us during the conference was that this is not a shift in policy, it's a clarification of policy. However, we will be educating because one of the tips that they suggest and that they provide through the U.S. Postal Service, give your ballot 7 days from when you mail it to reach its destination. And so we will provide education and or encouraging voters to use mail ballot drop boxes if they're not using the U.S. Postal Service.
Okay, thank you. How long do you anticipate the final results will be made public after the close of the polls?
Fair enough. So there may be some contests depending on the margins that will be decided that night, particularly when you have either someone running unopposed or, a very small field of candidates. But as you know, now that we're getting mail ballots, we get a substantial amount of mail ballots on election day. Our mail ballot drop boxes are pretty much full, and we usually conduct 3 pickups of our mail ballot drop boxes during early voting. On election day, we typically have to do 3 pickups because there are just that many ballots in the mail ballot drop boxes. And so the in-person votes will be announced on election night. So at all 75 vote centers, and then of course we'll have the information from the tallies from early voting. So early voting, election day in-person voting, and any mail ballots that have been processed, all of those will be part of the election night results. It will take us some time to process mail ballots we get on election day because one, as you know, we have 100% signature verification. And so that must be done before we determine that's a ballot that will be counted. And so that usually takes about 2 to 3 days, depending on volume, to get through all of those mail ballots. And we can accept mail ballots up to 10 days after election day, assuming they have been marked on or before election day. Typically, after about day 3, day 4, we're not getting a lot of mail ballots in, but we cannot conduct the final rounds of tabulation until you have all ballots in hand. And so it will not be until after that 10th day that we will have all ballots in hand. And so at that point, you can rely on the tabulation in any subsequent rounds where you have an individual not crossing that 50% threshold.
Okay. All righty. Director Evans, what is the cost difference between regular voting versus ranked choice voting to DC residents?
We're still coming up with some of those numbers. I can just give you some points that will drive costs up. So one, because of, and I showed you the ballot earlier, and so we have to make sure we have the width for up to 5 selections. And so we are going to likely go from a 14-inch ballot to a 17-inch ballot. We will likely have 2-page ballots in many of our contests. So that means we're dealing with doubling the production of ballots if you have 2-page ballots, larger ballots, but then also we know that and postage is going to increase with that, particularly given we already had a postage increase in 2025. And so we know those are things that would just inherently increase the cost of bringing ranked choice voting to the district. We know we're going to have to do more and different voter education and outreach. We had to put out an RFP, request for proposals, and it was recently awarded to Ranked Choice Voting Resource Center, and they will assist with our implementation services of ranked choice voting. And so we're having our kickoff meeting with them next week. So that is an expense. We know we'll have to have more collateral, more informational materials. So we typically have a certain number of postcards we send out, but we know we're going to have some materials specifically around ranked choice voting. So we know that will be an additional cost. And then just manpower with voter education and outreach. I talked about using site coordinators. And so we'll have more bodies in the field. Of course, that's going to be an additional cost with the number of people we'll have conducting that voter education and outreach. I can't say that we have come up with a bottom line figure as far as how much more that's going to be, but those are some of the areas where we know we will incur additional costs as a result of ranked choice voting.
And how about new machines? Will they be required for this wider ballot?
We do not need new machines to implement ranked choice voting. One of the things I will say for those who voted in person using touchscreen machines in 2024, we're noticing that those touchscreen or express vote machines are getting slower. And the reason they're getting slower is because they're reaching end of life. And just to, for illustrative purposes, for those of you who may use an iPhone, you may know that they've retired, like iPhone 1, iPhone 2. There's certain iPhones they have retired because technology gets to a certain point where it can no longer receive software upgrades. And so once our equipment gets to a point where it can no longer receive software upgrades, then we need to get the newer version of that equipment. So we just upgraded our poll pad machines, and those are the machines you may be familiar with when you check in at a vote center, and they essentially look just like an iPad where you check in. So we recently had to update those because they had absolutely reached end of life. With our touchscreen machines, they are nearing end of life, and so we're seeing some slowness with them. So if you can imagine, ranking using those touchscreen machines is automatically going to take longer because instead of choosing one candidate per contest, you're having to choose 5 candidates per contest. And so part of our educational campaign is really going to be to have voters educate themselves before they show up to vote, because you need to know, have a vote plan, who you're voting for. In the past, a lot of people have their favorite candidate. They've done the research and they have their one pick. Now, having up to 5, we really want to encourage people to take full advantage of the opportunity to rank those 5. But of course, ranking 5 is going to take longer than just selecting 1. So we're also looking at having to right size the amount of equipment we have in a vote center to alleviate lines and to ensure that the process moves smoothly and as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you. 2 people have asked, will we have to wait until mail ballots are received before ranking can occur?
You do not have to. One of the problems, if you start tabulation processes before you have a huge number of ballots in the mix, you're not going to get accurate results. And so, for instance, with the number of mail ballots we get on election night, we're talking thousands of mail ballots. We're talking enough that it will make a difference. And so if we did multiple rounds before at least processing that first round of mail ballots we received, I think that that would potentially sow seeds of distrust in the process, because you're going to see wide swings in how candidates are showing up as far as the different rounds of tallying. And because each round has somebody drop off, you might drop someone off, run subsequent tabulations, but then as you get more ballots, that person all of a sudden rises. And so now they're back on the ballot, but somebody else is off the ballot. And so we're really in the process right now of developing our policies and processes around releasing results and how we will release them in the most responsible way, so that we're not sowing seeds of confusion. So that is absolutely something we're thinking about, because we know that people want results and people want results quickly, but we also want to make sure that we're being responsible in the way we are releasing those results, so that we're not creating a lot of distrust in the process.
Okay, thank you. We have a question. If you could explain how votes are redistributed each round as candidates are eliminated.
Okay. And I'll try to do it as simply as I can. So if we have 5 candidates, and I'm going to say A, B, C, D, E would be our 5 candidates. And so we do the first round of tabulation. And first round of tabulation is essentially just the way you would count votes. And so we see how many votes people have in that first round, how many votes were for the candidates that people selected as number 1. If you don't have any of those 5 candidates crossing the 50% threshold, that means we have to move to round 2. So we have A, B, C, D, E. I'm going to say that candidate E received the fewest amount of votes in that first round of tabulation. So candidate E comes off of the ballot. Every voter who voted for candidate E as number 1, we move to number 2, to their number 2. And so however they selected their second choice, those votes are redistributed among the 4 remaining candidates. A, B, C, and D are still remaining. They're still standing. At that point, if nobody receives 50% of the vote, then we have to go to a third round of balloting, or tabulation rather. And so, again, for illustrative purposes, we'll say candidate D has the fewest number of votes of the 4 candidates remaining. So candidate D comes off. Everybody who voted for candidate D, those votes are redistributed to the 3 remaining candidates using their third choice. So whoever they selected as number 3. And that process keeps going until a candidate crosses that 50% threshold.
Now, is that AI doing this tabulations or human or who's doing
No,
it?
it's not human. RC Tab is the leader and kind of the gold standard in the field. And so we have been talking to them and getting their regulations. They actually are developing a paper that will specifically explain how it works in DC based on our rules. Because as I mentioned, ranked choice voting is a little different in different jurisdictions. And so they are actually developing a paper that will outline that process as it aligns with our regulations and our legislation in DC. And of course, all of this will be public information.
Okay, and I think this last is a postage question. How will the post office changes on not guaranteeing postmark mail, marking of the mail on the date the mail is received, affect your validation of ballots?
The only thing it really changes is if we receive ballots that are not postmarked by election day and they have a later postmark. The way our legislation is currently written, we cannot accept any ballot that is not postmarked by election day. And even if it is postmarked by or before election day, if we receive it 10 days after 10 days or 11 days after the election, we still cannot receive it. So the two hurdles, it has to be postmarked on or before election day, and we have to receive it by that 10th day after the election.
Okay. And how will the town halls be posted, or where will they be posted? How will they get out in the community?
It depends on the nature of the town hall. Some of them may be sponsored by like an ANC or a community group. And so they will reach out to their body, will help with the preparation of flyers, will help with getting it out on social media. We'll post it on our website that will launch tomorrow. We will have our events articulated on our website so you can see where we will be in the community. But if it's an event that's in partnership with an agency, we will also rely on that agency or that entity to help us spread the word to their network.
And the question is it 10 business days or 10 calendar days?
10 calendar days. Okay. And so I believe the June primary is the 16th, so the 10th day would be the 26th of June.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So
will there be practice machines? I'm sorry, Charles. Last one. Will there be practice machines and ballots at these town halls?
Yes, absolutely. So the town hall we're doing on the 31st, we will have machines, we will have ballots, we will have informational materials. Individuals who do not want to wait for a town hall after candidate pickup or in conjunction with candidate pickup, we'll have our lab set up. And so individuals can come to our offices. We'll have an area where we'll have a machine there or a couple of machines and ballots. So if you have business at DC Board of Elections, you want to go, anybody can access that, and we'll put information around the times and the process for engaging with the lab that we have here. But most of our events, we really want to take equipment and ballots into the community because I know I'm a visual learner. You can say something to me, but if I see it, I touch it, I feel it. I can walk away with a sample ballot that has the different columns. It helps me crystallize it in my head. And we want to try to, make sure we are addressing multiple learning styles. And so we absolutely will have equipment, paper ballots in the field. Also, I do want to mention that we also are very sensitive to needs of the disability community. And so, for instance, I have one of my former employees who's blind and has a service animal to assist him. And he's agreed to come in and test our equipment, test the ballot using ranked choice voting. And he's already given us some suggestions as far as how we can make the process easier for the visually impaired. For instance, as I mentioned, some contests may be subject to ranked choice voting. Some contests may not be subject to ranked choice voting if it's only two individuals, for instance. And so he said just having that that audio prompt with the Express Vote touchscreen machines. This contest is RCV, this is not. So you don't have to try to wait until you get to that particular contest to make the determination whether or not RCV will be implemented. So we are taking feedback, and of course things like that are helpful. So we are absolutely going to use our ADA coordinator to assist with, I'm sorry, no, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, they just came in the back of my office. But so we really want to make sure that we are not operating just with our own understanding. And so we will actively engage with populations just to ensure that we're getting suggestions, we're getting information, we're getting anything that will be helpful as we, because this is new to everyone. It's new to everyone on this call. This is new to us having to digest it, having to massage it, and having to implement it. So we're all kind of in this together with our first attempt using ranked choice voting, but I think we're stronger together.
Yeah, and that's a good way to, the one question that came up is how can volunteers help, or what support can we give to your office?
And I would say that depends on, I'm not sure what support is helpful. One of the things we do need to be careful with, we need to be careful about being nonpartisan. We need to be careful about not instructing people on how to vote or who they should vote for. And so I know that some groups may have their candidates of choice, or some individuals have talked about how individuals should or shouldn't rank someone who's not of the same party they're in. And of course, I understand that strategy for candidates. I understand that strategy possibly for a campaign. But if you are educating and trying to be consistent with the information Board of Elections puts out, we can't have ambassadors or people who are assisting us who have the potential of not being completely neutral and nonpartisan in the way that information is articulated. But some things that will always be helpful as individuals read information on our website, as you read the FAQs, you might have additional questions that we can add to the FAQs. Even though we have them developed, I continue to say that it's a living, breathing document. It will continue to evolve. So if we have not addressed specific questions that you feel will be helpful to the public, let us know. If you go to the website, it's like, I read this, but I'm not quite clear on what this means. I went to a different website. They had this type of graphic. I think this might, resonate more with, a certain population or a certain demographic. So if people want to provide comments, suggestions, sometimes when you've looked at a document 1,000 times, you're putting words there that aren't there. You're reading into it. And then, of course, I've been required to read the legislation multiple times, read the regulations multiple times, do a deep dive. I've talked to probably about 10 different jurisdictions at this point around ranked choice voting. So when I read things, I'm reading them through a different lens. But we always can use people who are reading things for the very first time.
Okay. Well, a lot of comments about how helpful this was, and thank you so much for providing this. And I know personally this was helpful for me, but it's a lot more that I just need to really just practice and understand. And I think once seeing the ballot up close and going through it, I'll have a better understanding.
Yes, absolutely. And so I will provide information to Mr. Wilson at the end of this call. We have information that is about to go to press. So I just have some mock-ups. We have like a palm card we're doing. This will be a 6x9 palm card and we have materials that are being used for different purposes. So the palm card is really created to be a snapshot. This does not go into as much detail as the frequently asked questions because we want to have something that we can give people and they kind of get a quick synopsis of what this is. Then we know we're going to, that people are going to need a deeper dive. They're going to need to understand in more detail. So we have a multi-page list of frequently asked questions. And so, that's available. We'll have the website landing page and information on the website. And we'll try to include QR codes on our materials so you can always look at the materials, but then go to the website and we'll be able to update that almost real time as far as any additions we receive or, and I like to say this will just continue to evolve. And as we get assistance from the public, as people review things and provide, feedback, we absolutely are, we welcome that.
Okay. I know the questions keep popping. Charles, do we keep going or how to, because there was one question about deployed individuals in the services, like how will they get to vote and what's the process for them?
Yes, we have a process for UOCAVA or our overseas voters. And so we have a deadline by which we have to get their ballots to them. But we also know that there will be a different element, not just getting their ballots to them, but making sure they have adequate information to understand the process as well. Because overseas, we will not have the benefit of having direct touch points with them. And so we will employ some of the same tactics we're using with individuals in the Federal Bureau of Prison System who are in locations outside of the District of Columbia and as far as California. So we need to make sure we're developing materials that will afford them the opportunity to have everything. And then particularly with those individuals living in who are incarcerated, they may not have a cell phone to scan a QR code. They may not have access to a computer as readily as someone else. So these are things we're thinking about. So those materials may have to be more comprehensive because what we send may be all they have access to. So these are all things we're thinking about as we're developing and tailoring materials for specific groups.
All right. Thank you so much.
Monica Roche, thank you so much for going through the questions.
Yes.
Director Evans, thank you so much for the entire presentation. Anytime between now and election you want to come back, we may invite you back, by the way. Please come.
Yes,
and
happy
again,
to do so.
Yeah, again, everybody on this call, whether you're a member of the party or not, you have the responsibility to help educate our neighbors, our friends, our constituents about this new voting process. It's not just on the government to do that work. It's on us as individuals and as organizations as well. So Director Evans, did you want to say anything else before we close?
No, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening, and I welcome opportunities to come back. If there are questions about materials we put out or questions about things you've heard, if you could please let us know, particularly if you think someone is giving misinformation or things that we may need to clarify based on what you're hearing. I say we have our ears and eyes, in the community, but that is also another way that we can be assisted when you hear things that may not be completely accurate and you bring those back to us. That gives us an opportunity to address it, and we really want to be viewed as the trusted source with that.
All right, thank you so much. Have a good night.
Yes, and I'll get materials to you tomorrow, if that's okay, Mr. Wilson.
Yep, that's perfect. And as soon as we get it, we'll email it out.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right, thank you. So guys, before we close, if anybody has any committee award reports, now's a great time to share that information. I see Linda, Vice Chair, hand up. You gotta unmute, Linda.
Trying to, there we go. Okay, hey everybody, Happy New Year. On the same note, the executive committee's last meeting, we agreed that we would have a meeting just of our party because it is our responsibility to try to educate our constituents. And so we're looking right now at possibly the first Saturday in February. We do have a consultant to help us, but the objective of the meeting, we won't need a whole day, is to come together and come up with really a fast action plan of how we can go ward by ward, affiliate by affiliate, caucus, and councils to put together an action plan to go out and educate the public. And so I just want to give you that and pencil in that first Saturday. The only thing that we're trying to solidify right now or verify is a place. And so as soon as we have that, we'll send the email out and we'll probably be able to finalize all of that by the middle of next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Deidre Brown.
Good evening. I just wanted to do two quick announcements. The Ward 3 Democratic Committee at their January 23rd general body meeting, we'll have Phil Mendelson. You can come out and meet with him, have a conversation with him. That's at 7:15 at St. Columbus Episcopal Church, which is located at 4201 Albemarle Street Northwest. And then for February, we've already confirmed with Director Evans, she will come in person. So we're hoping that she's actually going to bring the machines and documentation, and that will be on February 23rd. I hope I got those dates right. It's on Mobilize, but February 23rd at 7:15 at the same location. Everyone's welcome. We'd love to see you.
Thank you, Deidre. Any other ward reports or committee reports before we close? Going once, going twice.
Chairman
Yes.
Wilson, may I speak briefly, please?
Yes.
I just wanted to say to everyone, thank you very much for those who reached out to me when I had my surgery and I was down for a while, and I'm 100% now. And thank you to Chairman Wilson, who checked on me repeatedly and sent me an edible arrangement on behalf of the party. I appreciate all of you. And so I'm back to 100 now, and I'm looking forward to this 2026. Thank you again.
Thank you, Denise. We appreciate you too.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Any other last reports, updates before we close? All right. If not, this meeting has been recorded, so we will post it on our socials, hopefully by tomorrow. And again, guys, we got to do it. We got our marching orders. We got work to do to really get the word out to educate the public on this process. All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night, Charles. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.